couple of scores in the 40s, spinners success, and a Diana Big. You see what I did there, full of wickets, was on show in the first innings of the first ODI between South Africa and Pakistan. And on the Outside View Live, I have with me Claire Cowan and Mark Coles to dissect the innings. 250 was that golden number. It seems to have shifted down to 200. Mark, what are your first thoughts?
Well, my first thoughts were that it was being played in Pakistan, in Karachi, with that pitch. No pace, no bounce, but lots of turn. And we saw a few balls really grip and turn. So it looked like a Karachi pitch and looked very, very difficult to score on. So that score of 200, I think, as Claire said, is probably almost worth another 30 to 50 runs because it was a very tough pitch. It looked like the batters really couldn't get in and feel comfortable on that pitch because the ball was keeping a little bit low. It was turning and you really had to play nice and straight until you got the pace of the pitch. So for me, I think 200 is a pretty good score based on that pitch that we saw in the first innings.
Pakistan, remember, had won the toss and opted to bowl first. Let's give it a glance to the batting scorecard. 200 for 9 is what South Africa ended with. Marizan Kaap, of course, top scoring with 47, while Laura Wolford made 40. Claire, you are the nearest to the venue than the both of us. Your thoughts, were you kind of taken aback by the track that was on show?
Yeah, I was very surprised, to be honest, by the track. Kingsmead over the last few years has got a little bit slower. You know, going back in the years, it could be quite a feisty, almost like a green mamba type wicket. But it has slowed down a little bit. But that for me was very surprising. I didn't think it was going to be that slow and that difficult for the batsman to really get in and get a feel for the wicket. It almost looked like the ball almost got stuck on the pitch. It was like it would hit the pitch and then wouldn't sort of come through. And then we obviously saw a couple of the balls sort of stay pretty low. You saw Mignon du Preez sort of get caught hitting the ball right at the bottom of the bat a few times. So, I mean, it's gonna be really interesting to see if the different pitches sort of on the square play similarly across the series. It's going to be quite difficult, and I think the batsmen are going to have to look at different ways to score runs and get the ball off the square, essentially.
And it's interesting to look at that top four of South Africa. Liesl Lee, Laura Wolford, of course, as expected. Sune Lees also. But were you kind of surprised to see Laura Goodall walk in at 2 for 24 in the fifth over, because you had an experienced Mignon du Preez waiting in the wings? There was Kaap, of course. So how do you assess that situation from South Africa?
Look, I think it was a case of the original batting lineup obviously had Goodall coming in at 4, and that's a reasonable place for her to bat. You know, she's open for Western Province in our domestic competition. So from that aspect, she's got the experience at a provincial level. She's still quite new in international level. I would have been really tempted to move Mignon above Laura just to sort of stabilize the ship a little bit, give it a little bit more confidence. Mignon is exceptionally good at playing spin. She is really good with her footwork. And I just thought if she'd come to the crease a little bit earlier, she would have had a little bit longer of an opportunity to get her footwork going. I took note of it. I think she batted for 58 balls or I can't quite, somewhere around there. But it only took her a while to actually start using her feet. You could see in the beginning when she was playing the spinner, she sort of was really back in her crease and she wasn't wanting to come out. But as soon as she had the confidence and she started using her feet, she really started to knock the ball around into the gaps. And I think that's Mignon's strength. And I'm not saying the score would have changed dramatically, but it would have been really interesting to see if she'd just come in sort of that position earlier, stabilize things a little bit, and then let Goodall come, because I think you could see the nerves in Laura when she came to the pitch. Don't forget she was dropped when she was on 0 by the keeper, and I made a comment off air that she got to 27. It was a scratchy 27, and I'm glad she got there. I'm a supporter of Laura. I think she's a phenomenal batsman. She's got good technique. good hand-eye coordination. But on a different pitch, that 27 could have been as good as a 40 or a 50. So Pakistan, I think we're lucky in the situation that she only added 27 onto the scoreboard. But yeah, I probably would have liked to see a little bit of a change in that batting lineup. But I agree. I think 200 is actually more than an average score on that pitch.
Lara Goodall made 27 of 54 and added 60 for the third wicket with Laura Wolfart. Mark, you talked about the unknown quantity of Lara Goodall in the pre-match. So were you kind of even surprised, or do you also think that even Pakistan, the team, were kind of surprised with what Goodall brings to the table? Because there were some strange moves by the skipper Javeria Khan, like keeping fielders on the fence and etc. So were you also kind of surprised with the tactics that Pakistan used against her?
Well, I think you saw a little bit of inexperience from an experienced player in Javeria. Now, when I say that, an inexperienced in terms of her captaincy, and I thought that potentially they needed to put some more pressure on Lara, obviously being relatively new to the international scene, and stop her getting easy ones. And Claire mentioned that off air as well. They just seemed to let her get in the game on what was a difficult pitch. And Pakistan had South Africa in a pressure swing situation. They were under pressure, and Pakistan had picked up a couple of wickets. Then all of a sudden you had a newish player to international cricket. They allowed her to score reasonably well and easily after that initial drop catch. So before you knew it, she'd sort of got to 5 or 6. She'd started to get the pace of the pitch. She'd built up a partnership and a relationship in terms of the batting with Laura, Laura Wolfart obviously just allowed her to settle and calm those nerves. And then you saw a decent partnership of 60 put on. So I don't think they played that very well. I think they allowed a senior player in Wolfart and a junior player in Goodall to settle too quickly without putting pressure on them. And I think she got betwixt and between. Yes, give Wolfart one, but give her one early on in the over so you can bowl most of your balls to Goodall. That would make made more sense to me.
Yeah, fair assessment. Let's give a glance to the bowling card. 3 wickets for Diana Baig, 2 each for Nidadar and Nashra Sandhu. But Mark, you were talking about the length and line that she needs to find up front, Diana Baig, with the new ball. She did that. She picked up a couple of quick wickets at the start. Just didn't, and then on the field that run out to end Laura Wolfart's inning. You can't kind of you can't keep Diana Baig out of action, can you?
No, look, she's one of those players. She's an energizer in the team. And I do know that she's got a bit of a shoulder problem at the moment. So that's why you won't see her roaming around outside that circle. But that throw was magnificent. That's her. I mean, she's just one of the best fielders. And I would include her in all the Australians, the Indians, and the English. I think she's one of the best fielders in the world. And along with her bowling, she did got that early wicket of Lizelle Lee. And I think when we reflect on Lizelle Lee's wicket, playing across the line to the leg side on that pitch, that's a no-no. You've got to play straight early to the new ball. And that will be the key for the Pakistanis as well. Nahida Khan, Muniba Ali, they must play straight. And they tend to play across the line a little bit. So it's going to be enthralling with that new ball with Ismail and Cap, because I don't think they'll be able to bounce them as much as they probably thought that they might be able to. Or when I say bounce them, bowl a shorter delivery, because I don't think there's anything in this pitch for them. And the other thing I would say is, how long will the new ball stay new for on a pitch like this? It's very difficult to know, but it seems to be a surface that will scuff up that ball very quickly, which will eliminate the swing bowling of the two quicks.
Yeah, I don't think too many of the batters would be happy when you said that she has a shoulder problem, which means she'd be lurking around the batters, making life difficult for them. But Claire, as a batter, could you have done anything different against the way she was bowling, especially up front?
No, I just think I totally agree with Mark, what Mark said. And, we often say, we try and make cricket really complicated, but, it's quite a simple game. And And the number one rule for a batsman when you're coming out to bat is play in your V. And I think if Pakistan can do that, their batsmen will start to get in. And that's the important thing in a difficult pitch like that, is to feel the bat and ball, start building your confidence. So that would probably be my sort of one thing that I would like to, or I would focus on, is just playing in that V. And actually sort of playing around with your stance and where you are on the crease. You might find that in order to get a little bit of footwork going earlier on, you might want to just stand slightly more outside your crease. Just throw, especially in the beginning, facing Shubnam and Marizan, just make them think about their lengths, because it's going to be interesting. I think they're going to need to be trying to not bounce exactly as Mark said, not too short, but you sort of want the ball hitting on top of the splice of the bat. And on this pitch, I'm not quite sure if they're going to be able to even get it up as high as that. And so playing around with the lengths is what the bowlers are going to have to do. And so then I think make it difficult for them, and fiddle with your stance where you are, on the crease. Come out of your, I would say, sort of stand, a good couple of centimeters out of your crease, and see how the bowlers would react to that. I think those are one or two of the things that they could probably look at doing.
Interesting, Mark. You mentioned this track looks more like a Karachi than a Durban. Were you? And surprisingly for us, we were in fact talking about Nashra Sandhu's inclusion in the 11 in the lead up. But here she is, 10 overs, 1 middle, 22 for 2. How do you kind of rate her spell, given the all that surrounded it?
Oh, look, she was always someone that we thought she just went into a phase where a lot of cricketers go and she lost a bit of confidence. But she's a very crafty left arm spinner, and she uses, Claire was talking about the crease for the batters, but she uses the crease brilliantly for the bowlers in terms of bowling a couple behind, not there, then getting up a bit further. So her ability to be able to change up the spin, the flight, the pace with control is outstanding, and that will give her it'll be the world of good for her, and give her that little bit of confidence that she needs to carry on. She just had a little dip in form, but that happens there's a lot more cricketers in the boat than her with a dip in form. So she'll be much better for that. She'll have that belief a little bit now. So I'm really pleased for her that she's back on the international scene and bowled really, really well.
And go on, tell us more about how you liked Nida, your favorite, returning with 2 for 36. She was accurate. She was getting the ball to turn, picked up 2 crucial wickets as well. So how's that feeling?
Oh, look, well, I mean, I'm a fan of all of them, obviously, but I think Nida is another one that energizes the team. So, and again, while I was watching it, so Nida, someone misfielded, and boy, did they get a rocket. I'm not sure, it might have been Omaima Sahale, but you just saw Nida in the background, and you don't want to be around. She's very much like Ismail. You don't misfield. Or you don't nick it if you're a batter and it goes for 4, because you know what's happening. You're getting the eyes are looking at you. And it's the same with Nida. She's such a competitor. And she's going to be crucial in this batting. She will be crucial. She's one of the ones that has the ability to be able to hit over the field. And I think there's going to be times in this innings coming up where that's going to happen. You're going to have to be brave and hit over the top. So she's going to be crucial in the second innings for Pakistan.
Yeah, you're right. She's kind of a feisty pacer in the body of a spinner. But looking at the success that these 2 spinners especially got, 10 overs 36 for 2, 10 overs 22 for 2. Claire, do you think Marizan played the spinners better? Because we saw her, Kappa and Dupree kind of stitch a 50-run stand in between. That kind of gave the South African total some respectability, which otherwise was seemingly looking difficult. So is there a lesson, or is there a way, your assessment of South Africa batters playing against spin?
Yeah, I definitely think there is a lesson to learn. The interesting thing for me was, Marizan Cup took an incredible long time. I think she faced sort of 12 or 14 or 12 balls before she sort of scored her first run. And then And then she, I think she was 3 and she'd faced 24, 25 deliveries. And, I think a lot of people would start getting stressed under that pressure and kind of going, oh, I should be scoring quicker. But she has that ability once she gets in to really pull the trigger. And we saw that happen, especially in the latter part of her innings. And it just shows again going to how the pitch is played. Once you kind of get your eye in and you're getting the feel for the pitch, it's easier to manipulate the ball, where you need it to go. So I think it's vitally important that, when the batsmen start, yes, it's going to be hard, it's going to be tough. But I really like the way, Kapi went about that. I think she showed an immense amount of maturity. I know it's obvious to say, but it can still get you getting a bit jittery when you kind of feeling the pressure of really not getting the ball off the square. Her and Mignon I thought they were brilliant in stabilizing the innings together. And that's what Pakistan are going to need to do, is look for partnerships. We always talk about fast bowling partnerships, but batting partnerships are just as important. And the two of them know each other really well. And they were able to sort of, I think, keep each other calm under the pressure in terms of, the scoring rate was really low. And you could almost feel the two of them saying to each other, let's just, stay calm. Let's just knock it around, get a feel for it. And then we'll be able to sort of pull the trigger later on. And that's what you saw with Mignon. Then she started to use her feet a little bit more successfully against the spinners. And therefore, she managed to, manipulate the field. I think she lost her balance when she got stumped. I believe that it was actually, the shot was on really. I don't think she sort of played the incorrect shot. She'd been successful. I just think she lost her form in playing the shot. And that's what costs her to overbalance and then eventually get stumped. But, another example of using your feet against the spinners was, if you look at how good, we want to always talk about Shibnam Ismail when it comes to the bowling. But I think she scored 20 of 20 at the end. And she hit, I think it was 2 or 3 beautiful sort of extra cover drives over the top. And each of them, it was getting to the pitch of the ball, using her quick footwork, getting to the pitch of the ball, and then being able to play it over the top. And again, it's a good example of, I think, what you need to be doing, especially against the spinners on this pitch.
Yeah, interesting point. But while we dwell on the South African middle order, it's interesting to look at the role played by Mignon du Preez. I know it's early days. It's just the first ODI after a long, long time. But in the lead up to the T20 World Cup, she was kind of pushed up the order. She was consciously working on that power game of hers, showed in the way she finished that match against England, and then played for the Melbourne Stars in generally the top 3. So it was a conscious move from the team or wherever she played to kind of push her up, give her the freedom, and try to attack from the word go. But look at the position she came in today. She kind of, at time, it felt as if she was stuck in a rut. 29 of 61, the final score. But so is that a confusing role as to what Mignon needs to do for South Africa, or it's just that the format is different, so there might be a different role to it?
No, I don't think there's any confusion. Mignon, if I had to pick one player, there are many players that I love to watch in this particular team. And Laura Bolford, I don't think anyone, even in the men's game, has such good technique. But Mignon du Preez knows her game. She has got so much confidence. Her transition as a cricketer, when she decided to give up the captaincy and just focus on the batting, for me it was a class of genius, and it showed sort of maturity of, in life, not necessarily maturity even in cricket, but in life. And sometimes that you need to make a change or something like that. And she really has embraced that. I think she's just got so many different skill sets. So yes, she has the ability to go big, and she's developed that in the early days of her game. She was more of a knock around kind of thing, and getting runs on the boards with 1s and 2s, and obviously hitting the bad ball to the boundary. But yes, with obviously playing so much more T20 cricket, I think also for the South African women also wanting to look at getting opportunities overseas. T20 Super League, the Big Bash. It's important that the girls can demonstrate the fact that they can increase their strike rates and they can be really, really aggressive. And she's done that very, very well. I don't think it was a case of she's got confused. I think the pitch was just very, very difficult. And the other thing is, obviously, they haven't played ODI cricket for so long. So, you might feel like you want to sort of get rid of the shackles and have a real good dip, but you've got to understand, you've got to get through 50 overs of cricket. It's not 20 overs. And I think the worst thing that could have happened for South Africa is, you end up getting bowled out in the 40th over. That would have been absolutely devastating. The fact that I think they got through to 50 overs and they got 200 on the board in itself, that brings confidence and that brings security within the team. So they believe that they can do it. So no, I think I was really happy with the way that she played. And it was almost around, I think she'd faced sort of between 48 and 50 balls. And, then she really started to use her feet to knock the ball around.
Yeah, fair assessment. That before we close quickly, Mark, do you think Pakistan kind of let it go in the last phase because South Africa were 98 for 4 at the 30 over mark and they ended up 200, almost 50 runs of the last 10, 100 over 100 in the last 20. So is that something, knowing Pakistan setup, is that something they'll kind of look at in depth, or is it not something to lose sleep over?
No, I think they do. I think they fade away. And, it's the size of the people. Look at the size of our little Pakistani girls. They just run out of energy. I saw Cap and I think Sidra Nawaz walking down the pitch side by side. It was woman and little girl at preschool, walking off. The difference is massive. So the energy levels run a little bit low, the concentration goes a little bit, and you saw what happened. And look, Ismail played a fantastic innings at the back end there, and that's where I think at the moment it's advantage South Africa, because Pakistan, for mine, don't have those finishes that South Africa have. So it's going to be fascinating, but advantage, dare I say it, South Africa at the moment.
Advantage South Africa. Stresses Mark Cole, 201 to win for Pakistan. Quick thoughts, what should be the openers or the batters' approach? Claire, you first.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I've said it before, really just knocking the ball around, but playing with a straight bat. Unless it's a real long hop and it's very short and it's very wide, don't pull out the hook, don't pull out the pull, leave the cut alone until you're really feeling confident in the crease. And just keep it as straight as possible. And also, I would say, get the feet moving nice and early. Not silly, but just make sure they're positive movements forward and they're positive movements back.
Mark, 201, gettable, you think?
Oh, gettable, but someone needs to play a very good innings. And we talked about that before, the pre-game. Someone needs to be scoring 80, not out. And that's going to take a long time. And Pakistan have to very quickly assess this and say, right, to get 201, we're going to have to go to the 47th or 48th over to win this game. We're not going to get it in 35 overs. It's just not the pitch to do it.
Right then, 201 is gettable is what we all feel. Whether they do it, let's find that out, and we'll catch this conversation later on the Outside View Live. Thanks, Claire. Thanks, Mark. See you after the game.
Pleasure.
Cheers, guys.